Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're tuning in today, you're likely in the C-suite or senior leadership, and you're actively mapping out what's next for your enterprise. Well, the data is in, and we are officially moving way past the experimental era of artificial intelligence. We're talking about a structural reconfiguration of global intelligence. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for your strategy, your workforce, and your bottom line between now and 2030. Okay, let's dive right into this. Industry analysts are calling what we're about to experience a structural shift analogous in magnitude to the move from on-premises software to SaaS. Let that sink in for a second. Think about the absolute chaos and the massive financial upside when the whole world moved to the cloud. This next shift, it's on that exact same scale. For leaders, this is absolutely no longer a fun tech experiment. It is an executive mandate with massive financial stakes. So here's our roadmap. We're looking at 5 big shifts. Going from copilots to autonomous agents, breaking the per-seat pricing model, the rise of outcome-based economics, decentralizing and embodying intelligence, and finally, the human readiness mandate. Let's get right to it. Shift number 1, copilots to autonomous agents. That era of AI just being a polite assistant waiting for you to type a prompt? Yeah, that is already ending. Get a load of this number, 25%. By 2030, industry forecasts predict a solid quarter of all IT tasks will be executed entirely independently by AI systems. We're talking about 25% of all IT work happening with zero human intervention. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's the projected reality in just a few short years. You can really see the sharp contrast here. Generative copilots, the stuff we all use right now, they simply talk, right? They assist us, while we remain the primary ones taking action. But agentic autonomous workflows, they actually act. These systems are totally goal-oriented. They evaluate changing conditions in real time and execute complex workflows with barely any oversight. It's literally the difference between renting a smart chatbot and orchestrating an intelligence that actually gets the work done. So how does that actually work under the hood? Well, the Agentic development lifecycle operates in this continuous loop. Instead of following rigid hard-coded rules, agents collect context, evaluate the environment, take an action, and then, and this is the absolute game changer, they monitor the outcome. Did it work? Did it fail? This continuous loop lets them learn dynamically. They actively track their own behavior and adjust their logic on the fly. Which brings us to shift number 2, breaking the per-seat model. Now this hits right at the wallet, because when autonomous agents start doing the heavy lifting, your software budget is going to need a massive rethink. Here is the absolute crucial point. Agents do not need seats. You know how traditional SaaS works? You pay per employee license. But an AI agent consumes compute cycles, not a user license. Because of this, that historical tie between your human headcount and your software spend, it's completely breaking apart. If you're still paying per human seat while an AI agent is grinding out the work, your current SaaS pricing structure is rapidly becoming a huge financial liability. But hey, the market abhors a vacuum, and it's already pivoting to fix this broken model. Enter shift number 3, the rise of outcome-based economics. And this brilliantly illustrates what's happening. Look at the traditional per-seat model at the top. Incredibly high risk in an agentic world, right? But scan down to the outcome-based model. The core metric here shifts to verified results. You pay for the value of the completed work. It perfectly aligns the price you pay directly with the value your enterprise gets, completely removing those old headcount caps. Now, realistically, looking at the bottom row, expect to see a hybrid model, a base platform fee plus usage upside in the near term for your upcoming software renewals. Let's definitely cement this term, outcome-based pricing. It means the vendor charges you per verified business result. Think a successfully resolved IT support ticket or a fully processed error-free invoice. You aren't paying for an employee license to just sit in front of a screen. You're paying for the actual volume of work completed. This is the absolute new frontier for enterprise value creation. And honestly, as leaders, this is exactly what you need to be demanding in your next vendor negotiations. Okay, moving on to shift number 4, decentralizing and embodying intelligence. We are looking beyond the cloud now. Intelligence is moving right out to edge devices and actually out into the physical world. First up, the digital edge. Massive large language models are amazing, for sure, but they are absolutely not always the answer, especially when you factor in cost, privacy, and speed. Check this out. By pivoting to small language models, or SLMs, financial services firms are seeing a 67% reduction in latency and a massive 91% decrease in deployment time. These things can run on standard consumer hardware. They give you complete digital sovereignty, meaning your intelligence and, more importantly, your sensitive data stays entirely inside your own walls. Then there's the physical edge, embodied AI. When you break down the hardware costs of a humanoid robot, actuators, the motors and joints making it move, take up a whopping 50% of the cost. What's driving the software side is the vision language action model. Instead of hard-coding a robot for every single tiny motion, these models let robots take plain English instructions, visually interpret the room, and just physically act. And as those actuator costs plummet, we are looking at the true industrialization of physical robotics.
So where are we actually at on the humanoid development curve? Well, we're basically wrapping up the X curve. That was the early adoption and hardware stability phase. The huge takeaway for you is the Y curve. Starting in 2026, the robotics industry is officially calling 2026 deployment year one for physical intelligence in industrial settings. We're past the science fair phase. We are moving to large-scale value creation right now.
And it's not just physical labor being transformed either. It's the very nature of scientific discovery. AI for science is moving way upstream. We're seeing slow thinking models now, where AI spends way more compute time just exploring alternatives and double-checking its own logic to generate entirely novel biological and chemical discoveries. It's navigating design spaces that are simply way beyond human cognitive limits, effectively solving massive bottlenecks in materials and the energy transition. All right, which brings us to our final and maybe most critical shift, the human readiness mandate. Let's talk about the organizational structures you literally have to start building today. 500 million. That is wild. That's the staggering number of net new human jobs expected to be created globally in the next decade, just to support, govern, and orchestrate AI. So, that narrative that AI is just going to replace the whole workforce? It's flawed. AI supplements. It forces a workforce redesign toward top-of-licensed work. Humans are going to focus on validation, high-level interpretation, and complex decisions, while the agents just grind out the high-volume execution. But you can't have this level of intelligence without rigorous governance. Since today is May 2026, we are just months away from August, which is when the core compliance obligations of the EU AI Act go fully live. It's a hard pivot from theoretical ethics to verifiable, technical compliance. Regulators are going to want receipts. They'll demand model cards that detail the architecture, data lineage tracking the data's whole life cycle, and explainability methods to prove exactly why an AI made a specific decision. So, what is your playbook? Here are the exact strategic moves C-suite leaders need to execute an always-on agentic operating model. For immediate impact, first, establish rock-solid decision guardrails based on mission criticality. Second, absolutely negotiate outcome-based contracts on your software renewals to escape that per-seat trap. Then, for the long term, invest heavily in continuous data access. Your custom small language models are only as good as the standardized data feeding them. And lastly, keep a really close eye on skill atrophy within your teams as AI takes over those core administrative tasks. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As we stare down this window from 2026 to 2030, ask yourself, are you positioning your organization to merely rent intelligence or to actually orchestrate it? Because success in this new era, it isn't measured by the raw power of the models you buy. It's measured by your ability to strategically guide these autonomous systems to create verified value. The transition is already happening. It's time to assess your enterprise readiness, step up as the architect of your organization's future, and get to work.